welcome along. We have somebody in the studio that comes from the city of Manchester and has experienced all the sort of pollution issues there around schools, and really is kind of a voice of information on the position there, and maybe can be of help to some of the residents in Sandy Road who are also suffering the same sort of plight really and struggle. Her name's Ruth Todhunter, and we'll be talking to her in a few moments. Well, hi Ruth, and welcome to the studio. Nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
You live in, Knutsford, Manchester really, and you've been sort of involved in a campaign to try and improve the air quality around the school where your children go. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we started off, I heard that people were measuring air pollution in our area, and I wanted to know what it was like outside my daughter's school. So I managed to get hold and speak to somebody from the British Lung Foundation, and I was just asking them, how can I measure the air pollution outside the school, or how do we do it? So I said I heard they measured it in other places and it's really high and dangerous, and she said, we've got this new bit of kit actually. I was like, how do I get hold of that? So I ended up being kind of a guinea pig for trying out this new kit, which measures air pollution at kind of real time. So you can get like different types of monitors. Some are like test tubes that are glass that collect it over a week or over a certain period of time, whereas this is a little bit more sophisticated and measures it every 15 minutes. It sucks in air pollution.
It's replicating a lung almost then.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. It's not as sophisticated as some of the bigger ones that cost like 10 grand or something. This one costs about 7 grand. But it does show you like high peaks. So it like when it sucks in every 15 minutes, you can see when school drop off, it just does a big peak. But it also, you can look at particle matter as well as NO2. And outside my daughter's school, actually, particle matter was extremely high and really dangerous levels. And so we ended up keeping the monitor there. We were only supposed to have it there for a short period of time, but because of lockdown, it's ended up being there for quite a long time. And I've actually learned a lot about what this means and what's a dangerous level and, things that you can do to reduce it. So my daughter actually changed schools and we now walk to a different school. So on my way walking to school, I noticed a lot of people, when they drop their kids off to school, they'll leave the engine running and are unaware that the pollution inside the car can be up to 9 times higher inside your car. So when you're sitting there keeping warm, you're actually poisoning your children and yourself, and it causes lung cancer and all kinds of other heart disease, every ailment. So yeah, it's really important to know these things.
So what do they do with those figures? Are they then able to say, look, we can implement something here, we can maybe stagger the times of the traffic? Here internationally, the sort of MS has been involved with the MP and so on. They're saying, look, we're going to encourage children to come to cycle to school. It's not taking the cars off the road, by the way, that we're having more electric cars, we're planting more trees, maybe pollution busting plants. Are these things happening in Manchester? Are they measuring and actually doing something about it, that they know, well, this is the problem, this is the time of the problem, that's because of the school run, too many cars? How do you deal with it?
So at the moment they aren't really acting as quickly as we'd like. They have started in some schools to do school streets. Like it's really taken off in London more. And so my daughter and her friend set up a petition asking for school streets, and that means that during drop-off and pick-up, the road will be closed at that point. So even parking like round the corner and then walking means that you've turned your engine off, and when your kids are outside the school, they're not just breathing in everybody's pollution. So just a small thing like that can make quite a big difference.
Doesn't that move the problem to somebody else's corner?
So some people would say that it's moving it to another street, but that's not where the children are. And if the car is stopped and they've parked and they have to get out the car and walk around the corner, then the engine's off on that road. But yeah, people have said that. But I think actually it seems to, if you visit any of those places in London where they have done school streets, you can see children like playing to school, like skipping to school, cycling to school. Like if you just look at the images in themselves, you can tell what a big difference this would make.
There's obviously a case here. Let's just say that. Where do you start really with children who've got chronic asthma or who have developed it? Have they got that because of the cars? Have they got that as a result of walking to school in a polluted area? If so, are they able to, we live in a claim culture. Can they claim? Can they get some help? I mean, is this sort of a minefield where people can take legal action? Has legal action been taken? And if it has, who has that been taken against? Is it the councils? Is it the car drivers?
So the only thing I know is there's a group called Trees Not Cars in Manchester that have taken the council to court, but that was over the council wanted to build a car park, and they argued that the pollution levels were already high there and would exceed if a car park was put there, and that was actually opposite a school, and they won, but the council are still going to take it further and take them back to court, and that was just a group of mums. So I think there's a organisation called Client Earth that are involved in.
Yeah. So if the council, let's just say, are saying, look, we're going to put an extra lane in here. We're going to take the frontages away from houses. We're going to put an extra lane in here. That is going to take the pollution closer to the houses of the people who are living on that road. But we're doing it for the sake of speeding the cars up or slowing them down or whatever they say. Is that a case where maybe the residents can say, actually, we want to fight that. You can't do that. Yeah,
I think they should be raising that with the council, and they do need to. Yeah,
it takes a lot of money sometimes, though, doesn't it? Legal action, and you've got to be in the know, I suppose. So, I mean, Manchester, it's a world away from Sandy Road in Llanelli, what we're talking about here, and one man's campaign really to try and get a bypass to take the traffic away from where he's at. Again, solutions that have been fielded are pollution busting plants, trees. Monitors have been placed there, and I think there's not one single month in a year that they haven't been above danger levels, in those results. 80% of the people on that road, they're claiming they have asthma, some of them chronic asthma. I mean, what do they do?
I do think they need to continue to campaign and maybe, get in touch with the British Lung Foundation and just raise more awareness and try and push the council to address these levels of pollution if they are seen to be, as unhealthy as what you're talking about.
We're told, we're going to have electric cars and we're seeing them. They're £30,000-40,000 each. I mean, it's hard to get people out of cars anyway, isn't it? Yeah. And it's hard to send your children to school on a bike if the road is as polluted as that, because you're breathing harder, you're taking in more of the polluted air, I suppose. Action to keep going.
I think they are doing some good work. They do like a lot of their funding goes into research, and like we've been in touch with people at the university that study the science of how air pollution works, and I think that is another route to go down for that, for those people in Wales as well, to get in touch with I suppose the professors and stuff, because there will be people.
Yeah, I suppose the time element, doesn't it? Because we're already, according to the residents, we're already seeing children as young as 2, 3, 4 years of age with chronic asthma as a result of living on that road and walking to school.
I think, if you look at like the Alec as a Deborah case in London, and things like that. One thing that I thought, I went to this meeting that she was involved with recently. One of the things she said, we all need to make sacrifices. We all need to make changes to the things that we do, and I do think I know that it's like quite difficult to get around here, but we need to like have a bus infrastructure so that children can get to school.
Yeah, we've just run a story on that, and the even the campaign for public transport are saying it's non-existent, it's falling apart, and if you do go on a bus, it's just so difficult. We've been campaigning for a while and putting things through the press where we're asking for summer holidays, for a free bus service for poor families to be able to go to the beach. They can't get to the beach. And we have a vaccination centre that's centred on just off a sort of a dual carriageway. Well, if you haven't got a car, and there's no bus there, what do you do?
Well, I think there needs to be funding, doesn't there, for that infrastructure? Because otherwise people are going to solely rely on their cars. And then every year, 15% more cars are on the road. So the problem is only going to get worse unless governments and councils, deal with the root cause.
Well, the government have floated planting 80 million trees in Wales. And again, that's somebody somewhere saying this is the solution and this is how we'd reduce our carbon footprint in Wales. And most people would say, hey, that's fantastic. We're planting more trees. Surely it's good for the planet. But then we've got the farmers who are saying, you're taking away rural farmland that's been farmed for centuries and it'll never come back. And, who knows what's going to happen with climate change? Are trees going to thrive? Are they going to die? We've got the ash dieback. Why is the ash dying back? There doesn't seem to be any clear, concise answers and solutions to this man-made problem of cars, exhaust fumes, buses. We've suggested having sort of out of town brownfield areas where buses can load and offload, electric bicycles, electric vans can pick up loads that are deposited from lorries. I think you mentioned something with these cargo bikes that are taking deliveries, and they've mapped them and seen that they can actually deliver quicker, more efficiently than the lorries and vans can in a town.
Yeah, there just needs to be more of that, doesn't there? Yeah, like the technology is there for that kind of infrastructure.
And your daughter, she's been on the radio as well. She's said some things. She's
Yeah, so my daughter and her friends have been doing a campaign. They've got a song that's on YouTube about turning your engine off. Just because, even just the thing of turning your engine off and not leaving it. One of the parts of their songs, maybe you could get her on singing it actually, was when they were singing it, they were like doing an action with their hands. And I was like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, we're on our phones because that's when people idle. So part of their song was stop idling and switch your engine off. And while they were doing that, they were just flicking through their imaginary phones. And so I think, our society is so distracted by our phones that we maybe haven't realised that we're leaving our engines on for, enough time to, really do some damage.
Yeah. But I mean, I know people have sort of criticised environmentalists and Greta Thunberg over her kind of, passion and commitment to the environment. And people are sort of saying, look, let me remind you, we've had the Industrial Revolution. You wouldn't be in the houses you're in. You wouldn't be driving the cars you're driving in. You wouldn't be eating off the plates you're eating off. There's a balance to be struck, isn't there? I mean, there has to be, because we are, as a human race, we depend on industrialization. We depend on those things to it's not going to be a quick fix, is it?
The problem also is, like, say, then with the previous, like, smogs and stuff, you could see it, whereas this threat is invisible. And I think that's the problem with it. I think if you could see how bad it was, maybe you'd make more action. But because this is invisible, we can't see this dangerous air that we're breathing. Like, you can look at DEFRA maps and, like, look at where all the dangerous and all the different toxics, but it's not something you can visibly see with your eyes. And I think maybe that is another reason why people are so slow and governments and councils to act, because people aren't shouting out about it, are they, as much as they could be if they realised how, much it was damaging our health.
Well, thanks for coming down to Wales and sparing some time and talking to us. And good luck with the project when you go back. And hopefully, it sounds like you're making progress. It sounds like you're getting results. And
so the children did a petition anyway, and they've got like nearly 700 people have signed it. So that was just they were putting in a few school streets in Manchester, and these children were like, oh, it's not fair. It's just like these particular schools are getting. They should be measuring the pollution outside schools, working out which schools are the most dangerous, and then implementing strategies for those schools. And so they set up a petition saying we want school streets for all of Manchester. So that was their little thing as well.
Great. We'll put all those details on the website. Thanks for speaking to us. There we go. That was Ruth Todhunter, who'd come down from Manchester to speak to us about the pollution outside the school, where children go to school, and sort of relating that to Sandy Road and Ray Jones's campaign there for a bypass, and trying to find ways of solving that pollution, which is the necessary evil, I guess, the car. Thanks for joining us. This has been Alan Evans, and this is Talk Radio Wales. Bye for now.